Right, why am I out? I'm out in the middle of nowhere as usual. Well, I'm still in the middle of nowhere. There is a road somewhere over in the distance. You can't really see my finger, it's over there. Anyway, right, I'm out. These are my first thoughts, and I'll turn the headlamp on so you can actually see what I'm looking at, right, as I walk along here in the mud. Let's get that turned up a bit. Right, first thoughts of, this is something from Wuben, a little bit overexposed there, get it the right way up, might help. These are my first thoughts of the, sorry, a moth just attacked my face there, very unprofessional. Wuben G5, right, let's get a nice close look at this because it's something different. I feel like since Olight sort of started the trend, they didn't really start the trend, but you know, since they've popularized arc light and all of this, I don't know if the companies have thought, now do you know what, everyone's got a cylindrical light, how on earth are we going to make them buy lights again? I know, we'll make them all rectangular like this. Or does this actually work? Is it a gimmick or does it work? And as you can see the detents and the slide there, you can see I have used this for a number of days. So I've had this about 3 days now, carried it for 3 days. I'll put up a full review when I get time, obviously you'll have to carry it for at least 2 weeks. Let's get a nice close look at it. So you have a rotating head there, and listen, it does have like a click on it, so I mean, you may or may not hear that. I'll do it closer to the mic. I'll pull it away from the camera, so just if it goes black, that's why. Listen, hear the click? Click, click. So there's little detents that tell you what's going on. There's little detents in this roller and rocker here. So let's turn this out and I'll show you what's happening here. So when it's on, and I'll go over the finer points of how you lock it and things like that. So we'll turn it on. So it's one press to go on and one to go off, right? Let's come down to the floor. Very uniform beam there. So it's got 2 emitters. One is for the colours, because it does have colour modes and all sorts of cool stuff like that. So I'm moving it left and right, but a nice uniform beam. Not too harsh either. It's certainly not like a warm tint or anything like that on the Kelvin value. But and I'll show you this. So I'll turn this back on. So you've got the light coming out there, but watch, I can adjust that. So I'm going to turn it over there, and then I can adjust that. You see, but I'm using my thumb. You can adjust it up and down. You see that? That's just coming. Now, did you see that momentary flicker? That momentary flicker is indicating that is your maximum, so 400 lumens. And we'll do that again. So I've got my light on the hand here so you can see what I'm doing. So watch, as I roll that down, so it's got an analog interface to get exactly the setting you want, and then it'll go, right, I'm now on the lowest. So just so you know how I'm doing that. And again, you can alter this. The whole reason for altering that is because it has this clip setup. You can clip it like that, but you can pull it out and move it to the left or the right, and then obviously you would move that down and you'd put that on your shirt pocket or your belt or something like that. And bear in mind, because you can't shift this around, you could do it like that, alter it, and you could put that on a cap. It's that light. It's about 52 grams, I believe. And I will get you the full specs on the full review, but look at that, beautiful. I'm really enjoying it so far. Well made. Really good. You've got a magnet on the base, you've got a little lanyard thing there, and again, this is completely reversible, so you can pull this out and move it to the left hand side or the right hand side, or just have it on the side like that. So let's get a nice close look at this. So the emitter on the right, the one on the right is the one that is doing the heavy lifting there, and on the left is your coloured one. Now just to show you that, in fact, let's turn this down. So there it is on its main setting, but you can click and hold, and then you can go to coloured. Now if I come down the floor, let's show you how that works. So again, that wheel comes in. So if you jog that wheel, watch, see the colour, and it'll go completely through the rainbow there. So it's going to reds and greens. Isn't that brilliant? Now, some people have said, what's the point of that? Well, you never know. You might be stuck on a ghost train or whatever, or it's some sort of signalling device. Who knows? Right, what else can you do? Right, so let's go over this basic. So you've got one button, and I'll turn the headlamp back on. So bear in mind, if you look very carefully at the top there, you have a lock. So when the slider's in the furthest to the left position from the logo, obviously, it's locked. You cannot use it, look, nothing happens. You can click and hold, which gives you, now do you click and hold from, no, you have to have it unlocked, sorry. There's your first setting, so you see it's got a little light there, and then you have charge. Now charge just means that this detent goes all the way along, and there's your Type-C charging. It does work whilst it's plugged in, so I'm happy to see that. Now you can click and hold, and it will do a battery level. I'm not that happy with the battery level, look. It does like a flashing blue. It's like a solid blue if it's high, then it's flashing blue, then it goes red, then flash. I would have preferred to have seen a percentage, but okay, that's how they've chosen to do it, fair enough. And bear in mind, this can produce green. Why not green for full and then red for low? Okay, that's what they've chosen to do, fair enough. Right, so there's your basics. And then you also have, I mean, I'll just show you nice up close. So there's your colours. I've done this in HDR 10-bit. So you can look at the colours there. In fact, it would help if I shine them on the ground, wouldn't it? Let's shine them on the ground. So here's into some grass. There's some browns and greens here. And we can go right through we can use the jog wheel to go right through them here. If you want, I don't know, direct a Rob Zombie horror film, who knows when you would need that. Now, what does double press do? Right, double press will go to your beacon modes. So again, in that beacon mode, it's going to beacon mode on whatever colour you had. So if you go back to the colour, so there's the colour, and you wanted to change that, so you say, right, now I want more of a blue. So let's go for blue, and then double press that. Right, you can now use that as your flash. So you've got any beacon colour that you want. You set that by virtue of the jog wheel. So then we'll go back again. That's your basic. So to switch between those two modes, you're just pressing and holding. There's the normal beam, and there's the colour. And then when you're on normal beam, a double press will take you to turbo. So if we turn this right down a bit, so there, that's quite low. And if I thought, oh, I quickly need to go to maximum, double press. There you go, dead simple, straight to 400 lumens. Let's get a nice look at that in these trees. What does it look like on these acorns? So there's a nice tree there. And then we'll look down this path, let's see what we can see. Not a lot, but it's not going to push far, but I'll tell you something, that's pretty good. The reflector on this is pretty decent. And again, I'll go over this in more detail in the full review, but I'm happy with that. And you can certainly walk by it. Again, are you going to get turbo all the time? No, there is a step down. So just to bear that in mind. But it's IP68, so if I press that again, it's going to go back to the mode that it was on. There you go. So very low, and then we can wind that up a little bit. So, what's the stats on this? Right, 52 grams, Type-C charging. C to C, well, I'll cover that in the review, and it does work whilst it's plugged in. And how fast is the charging? It's okay so far. I've charged it a few times because obviously this is about my third day, but it's okay so far. It only has a 1 meter drop rating, which I was a bit disappointed to see, but I guess it's because it's got that articulated head, the twisting head. It might make that a little bit more prone to shock and things like that. Okay, fair enough. It's still IP68, so as long as you have that thing, now, and I'll show you that. So turn it off. As long as you have that slide, I've got this in red light mode if you're wondering why there's a red tint there. As long as you have that all the way down, they are saying IP68. Okay, fair enough. That may or may not be true. I'll certainly be testing it under the tap and basic things like that. But very impressed. So turn that out. Let's show the main mode again. Right. So slide up, main mode there, boom. And then we can use the jog wheel to that's its maximum, and then down. So I'll do it from that's its absolute lowest, and then we'll slowly ramp up, and then you'll see a flicker. Bang, that's its maximum. Okay, so there you go. What other modes does it have? Well, from off you can double press and you get this. So if you want to pretend you're a cop, I don't know what you would use that for. If you want to pretend you're the police, fair enough. Be careful where you use that though, obviously. And if you double press, it'll go through these modes. So you have a red and green. In fact, I'll do it down to the floor so you'll actually see. So you've got red and green there. I don't know when you would use that. Red and like a yellow, just to show you there's the yellow. And then it'll cycle back to the cop mode or whatever you would call that. So there you go. So okay, I don't know when I would use that, but it's available. And then back to main. So pretty good. Full review when I have time. I've tried to keep this short. I've done this in the highest quality I can get away with. And thanks for joining me. Any questions down below, stick them down and I'll get them when I can. Have a good night. I am off. Good night.